Hey guys, Tim Little here with TacticalBassin. A few videos ago, Matt and I shot a video out on Clear Lake talking about summer worming and the advantages to throwing certain style of rigs and baits in the summer months. And one of the rigs that I mentioned was the Carolina rig. You know, big worms, big weights, leaders, and we got a lot of comments asking, can you do a video showing how to rig the Carolina rig? You know, what tackle are you using, what setups? So that's the video I'm going to shoot today. I'm going to go through the gear, the rods, the reels, everything from start to finish, what I use and what works for me, and you guys can take it from there. So first off, you know, I love throwing big worms. You know, we talked about the man's jelly worm, the 12-inch. We talked about, you know, some robo worms, that type of thing. But, you know, one of the baits that we left out that a lot of you guys commented on was the Zoom Old Monster. This is a 10.5-inch ribbon-tail worm. It's an awesome, awesome worm. So thank you guys for reminding us on the comments. They actually make it in a mag Old Monster, which is a 12-inch bait. So summertime, deep fishing, big worms, big bites. So starting with the rods, today I'm going fishing out here. I'm fishing for big fish. The fish that are in this lake are anywhere between 3 and 8 pounds. The quality is awesome here at this lake, but I'm actually throwing this on a 7.9 5-power rod. So almost an 8-foot rod, 5-power, pretty heavy action. I'm throwing a heavy weight, 3/4 ounce weight, heavy 5/0 EWG super line hook with a 13-inch worm. So we're using heavy gear. I'm actually using braid. The benefits to braid is the sensitivity. You know, it's second to none. So heavy rod, 7.9 5-power rod. Dobbins also makes an 804 Carolina rigging rod. It's a rod specifically designed for Carolina rigging. So it's an 8-foot 4-power rod. And the reason these rods are so long is you're throwing leaders. So your weight and your swivel are up at the top getting ready to cast, but you could have a 3.5, 4, 5-foot leader, you know, hanging down. So you need that long rod to be able to cast the whole setup. I use a 7-to-1 gear ratio rod, or reel, sorry, 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, heavy rod. When I'm power fishing with these big worms, I use braid, and I will tie a 15 to 20 pound fluoro leader to the actual bait. So as far as the setup, for those of you guys that don't know what a Carolina rig setup is, it's a free floating weight tied to a swivel, barrel swivel, with a leader tied to your bait. Now the advantage of a Carolina rig, when you're fishing down there and this weight is on the bottom and a fish picks up your worm, your bait, whatever you're throwing, a big lizard, your line is going to slide and it's not going to feel the actual weight of the weight itself. It's not going to feel that 3/4 ounce, you know, 1 ounce weight that you're using. So the worm itself gets better action. It's free floating. The fish don't pick up to it as fast as they would if it was a Texas rig or the weight was pegged directly to the head of the bait. So Carolina rigging, as far as rigging itself, the benefit of throwing a heavy weight, you know, when you're Carolina rigging, you're typically dragging and you want to maintain constant contact with the bottom. So I like to throw heavy weights. I'll throw a 1/2 ounce, 3/4, 1 ounce. I mean, you could throw heavier if you want. You know, windy situations, 1 ounce is fine for me. But the benefit is throwing a heavy weight. You're constantly dragging the bottom, so you're maintaining constant bottom contact, and you can actually feel what's down there. Is it pea gravel? Is it grass? Is it mud, clay? And you actually can learn the area you're fishing a lot better. And that's why I recommend a tungsten weight. You know, you can get by with a typical a lead egg sinker in those sizes as well. They're just a softer material, and you're not going to have as much sensitivity as you would throwing a tungsten bait. Now I get it. You know, I started fishing out of a float tube and walking the bank and ugly sticks and entry-level stuff. So an egg sinker is a great way to start. If you can afford it, jump up to some tungsten weights. You get a smaller presentation with a heavier weight. So so you run your weight. I like to run a bobber stop. So I have my main line, I run my weight up, I put a bobber stop on there, and then I tie on the barrel swivel. Now the barrel swivel, what that does, it allows you to tie a different leader to your main line, and it keeps the weight up off of your leader. The reason I put the bobber stop on there is because that weight is sliding up and down, and I don't like the weight sliding up and down and bashing on my connection knot all day. It's just a thing I do. I mean, you can do it if you want, but that weight is actually going to hit that bobber stop and not your knot connecting to the swivel. So continuing down the process, so you have your weight, you have your bobber stop, you have your barrel swivel, now you have your leader line tied to your hook. Now, today we're talking about big worms, summertime fishing, but understand that you can do this finesse fishing too. You can throw a 1/8 ounce, 3/16 1/4 ounce weight with 8-pound test, leader line behind it to a 3-inch grub, or a lot of guys will throw a 3-inch grub or a little small creature bait. So understand that these same techniques can be applied to the finesse side as well. Great creature style baits, brush hog, zoom brush hog. What do we got? The Kitech, that was the crazy flapper. It's like a crawdad style bait. Any of those type of creature baits work very well on a Carolina rig. If you're not throwing a big worm, you can throw big lizards. They make lizards that are 10, 12 inches long. The key to this is you're power fishing, big presentation for big bites. So what I want to do, go through some stuff real quick. You guys had some questions about the line that we use, about the setup, the hooks, all that stuff. So real quick, leader line, I like to use braid. If I can't get away with braid, I will use fluoro, and then I'll tie it to the barrel swivel. The cool thing about using the swivel is you can use different size line that's different from your main line. So you can get away, if you are finesse fishing, you can get away with 10, 12, 14-pound main line, and then you could put 6, 8, 10, 12, or even bigger. You can put a 17 to 20-pound leader line on there if you want, if you're fishing structure. So you can get away with different line types at the barrel swivel. So I like braid, I'm power fishing. As far as big worms, this is a 5/0 EWG style hook. Super line, you're not going to bend this thing out. Typically when you get a bite on a 13-inch worm, it's going to be a better fish. So hooks, that's what I use. I like the EWG style hooks. These are 2/0 trocars for your smaller baits. The reason I like the EWG, the extra wide gap, you get more gap between the bait itself. So when the fish bites down on it, the bait slides down, and you get a lot more bite, a lot more hook gap there to penetrate. Leader line, what I'm using right here on this setup, I have the 50-pound braid tied to a 15-pound Seagar Abrazex leader. It's about, like I said, 3 feet or so. Remember, bobber stops, I like to run the bobber stop right above the swivel, and that keeps the weight from hitting your knot all day. As far as the swivels themselves, you don't need the actual snap on the swivel. These are actual barrel swivels. These are the Spro power swivels. These are size 4, and they're rated to 130-pound test. Obviously, you don't need a 130-pound test. These ones actually are a little small, as not in pound test size, but the actual size of them. These are size 4, so I'd probably, if I bought these again, I'd probably buy size 2s, even though I don't necessarily need the 130-pound test break strength. It's just a little bit, the actual size of the swivel is a little bit small, so I'd probably go with a size 2. What else? You can get away with shorter rods. A 7/6 you could probably get away with. Just remember that your you're throwing a leader. So the longer rod that gives you the more flexibility on what distance or what length leader you can throw. You can throw this on a spinning rod. I have thrown on a spinning rod with a light line. So play around with the Carolina rig. You know, we got a lot of questions about this. The last video we shot in the summer worming video when I mentioned about rigging a Carolina rig. So let me go ahead and rig one up for you. I'll show you the process. So I'm going to re-rig this setup right here that I had rigged at the beginning of the video. I'm going to start with my main line. This is my, my braid. This is going to be a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight. I'm going to run this onto my main line. Next, I'm going to put a bobber stop on there. You can use any bobber stop. These are Pegex by 6 Sense lures. They're your traditional bobber stop style. Paycheck Bakes makes a good bobber stop for punching. So let's go ahead and rig one of these on real quick. So how these work, it's a little wire loop. You run your main line through the loop. Come on. This wind's not helping at all. And then you slide the bobber stop right up onto the line. So now you have your weight that free slides and then hits the bobber stop and stops. So now what we're going to do, we're going to rig it to the power swivel. Now understand too that you'll have to tie different knots. I'll show you this in a minute. If you guys like to tie like a Palomar knot, you won't be able to do that when you tie your leader onto the back end of the swivel because you can't loop over the main line. So you'll have to tie like a San Diego jam or some other knot like that. So I got weight, bobber stop, swivel. Run this through. You can do your basic Palomar. You could do trilene, San Diego jam, whatever you want. I'm going to do a Palomar just because it's quick. Loop it through, pull back through. Okay. So, weight, bobber stop, swivel. Now this is where you can pick whatever line leader you want. Like I said today, I'm throwing the 15-pound AbrazeX. So, like I said earlier, you won't be able to tie a Palomar onto this. So I'm actually going to tie a San Diego jam. If you guys don't know what that knot is, we have a video on it. It is a great knot for just about everything. The trick with this is keeping your main line tight. Seven loops through the bottom. And then through the loop you made on your finger. Trick with this knot is you don't cinch it down. You kind of, I know you guys can't see this really well, but I'm just kind of working this knot up to itself, and then I'm going to slide it down too. All right, so grab my leader line, grab about 3.5 feet or so. I'm going to tie my hook on. Play around with the different types of baits. Like I said, the lizards, big worms. You know, I've been to Texas and I've seen worms that, I kid you not, are 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick and 2.5 feet long. I mean, just stupid stuff. But bass aren't afraid. You know, you guys see a 10-inch bass attacking an 8-inch bait, so they, you know, they aren't afraid of those big baits. But creature baits. work awesome. Okay, so let's show you the whole setup. So, tungsten weight, 3/4 ounce, bobber stop. I'm gonna slide this down to my knot on the barrel swivel, right? So come down to my setup. So, hopefully that helps, guys. That is the Carolina rig. Some people like to put a bead right here. They'll use a brass weight and a glass bead. It's called brass and glass, and that it makes sound. It clicks every time you kind of pop it. I typically run the tungsten weight to a big worm, and that works for me. All right, guys, so hopefully that cleared up a little bit about the Carolina rig, what it is, how we rig it, that's the stuff we use, the gear, the tackle, and all that in between. It's a great way to go out and to catch a lot of fish, put a lot of fish in the boat. So again, thank you guys for the feedback, the comments, the suggestions. We really appreciate it. Matt and I really appreciate it. You know, it's what Tactical is all about, is helping and teaching people to catch more bass. So we really encourage the communication, the feedback, the suggestions, and all that sort of stuff. So anyways, guys, I hope this video shed a little light on the actual rigging of the Carolina rig. If you guys like the video, hit the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media, you know, our Facebook page. We're always posting stuff on Facebook. If you want to see some big fish pictures, check out our Instagram page. And we'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya.
You know, we're not really brand loyal. I pulled out some of the baits that I have confidence in and came up with 5 different brands of worms. But seriously, these are worms that I have a lot of confidence in. So just running through them really quick. Reaction Innovations Pocket Rocket. Such a stellar bait. I like to throw it on a shaky head. It's a bulkier bait, and it's thin. And
back behind me, there's a bunch of big ponds. You know, Clear Lake, we had a lot of high water this year, and they filled with water. Lots of bass back there and bait. Well, now that the water's dropping, it's dropping fairly quick. This is one of the mouths right here. So the fish are pulling out of those ponds. Nice little bass. They're pulling out of these ponds, and it's pretty obvious.